Alright, in this video we're going over quadratic functions and equations part 2. Alright, now there's no new vocab for this, so we're just going to get right on into it. So problem 3, using quadratic regression. Now we are going to be doing this in the TI Inspire. Alright, it's really the only way to quickly do quadratic regression is by using the Inspire. Okay, so I'm going to explain a little bit, and then we're going to pop over to the Inspire, and I'm going to show you how to do this. All right, so here we have our data. It says the table shows a meteorologist predicted temperatures for an October day in Sacramento, California. We need to find the quadratic model for this data. All right, well, one thing we need to do when you have time like this, you need to take and convert it into military time, or what they call 24-hour time. All right, which means that 2 p.m. will be 14, 4 p.m. will be 16, and 8 p.m. will be 18. All right. So now what we do, let's go over to the Inspire. Now what we do is you open up a new spreadsheet right here. Now before you start typing in your data, all right, before you start typing in your data, go up to the top, name this column time, and name column B temp, so I can spell it. All right, so there, now we have time and temp. So now type in all your time. All right, remember to make sure it's in military time or 24-hour time. Then type in all of your temperatures in the temp column. I missed one. Oops. 78, 81, 76. All right, so we have all our times here. We have all our temperatures here. All right, so that's all I did was type them in. Now, to get our equation, what we're going to do is after you have your time typed in and your temperatures typed in, go to Menu, Statistics, Stat Whoops, I clicked it and I didn't need to. Statistics, Stat Calculations, Quadratic Regression. Quadratic Regression. It'll pop up like this. Well, our X list, if you remember, we put in column A. Our Y list, which is our temperatures, we put in column B. Now, it says save regression equation 2. Leave that as F1. If it doesn't say F1, type in F1. Make it say F1. And then scroll down to here. And instead of making it E, let's make it D. Hit enter. And now here is your quadratic regression equation. All right, here's A, B, and C, because remember it's ax squared plus bx plus c. So this is all of that. Now, this r squared, the closer this number is to 1, the more accurate your predictions are going to be using this quadratic equation. So we're 0.9919. You can't get much closer to 1. All right? So that means that this is going to be a very good model for predicting future temperatures. All right. Now, what does this look like on a graph? Well, let's find out. Go hit the home key, open up the graph, and please use this one down here. Okay. Now, remember how we saved our equation in function 1? So, and there it is right there. So just hit enter and it'll graph it. Now, before we go to graph the temperatures, let's change our our window settings so we can see everything. Let's go 0, X max, let's make it say 20. And that's not at random. If you notice, our highest time, which was our X values, was 18. So I picked 20, so we're a little past that. Y, let's go 0. Now, our highest temperature is 81, so I'm going to go to 85. All right, hit enter. Now, how do we get the scatter plot onto here? Well, that's easy. You go to Menu, Graph Edit Entry, Scatter Plot. All right. Now, X, remember how we named it time? Type in time. It should go bold, and it should go bold like that. Hit the down arrow. We named this one temp. It should also go bold. All right. And then after you have the time and temp, hit enter, and it will plot your values. So as you can see now, our quadratic equation that we came up with using the quadratic regression is pretty close to all of our points. In fact, it looks like it goes through that one right there exactly. This one, it's real close. That one, it goes through. These two, it's real close. That's the only one right there that's kind of not as close, but it's still really, really close. Okay, it's within a degree, probably. All right. So just to review, the first thing we did, remember, the first thing you need to do, label this time, label this temp, because we have to set up the variables so that way when we go to graph it, we can just type time and temp and we're good to go. Type in your time and military time, type in your temperatures over here. Then you want to go to menu, statistics, stat calculations, quadratic regression, because we're using quadratic equations here, coming up with quadratic equations. X list is A, because that's where we put our our X's. B is the Y list. Save it to F1. The reason mine says F2 is because I already saved one to F1. And then make sure your first column is column D. Then you hit OK. It'll pop up your quadratic regression equation, A, B, and C. So you just plug these in for A and the AX squared, plug this in for B and the BX, and then you plug this in for C. The closer this number is to 1, the R squared, the more accurate your equation. Then to graph this, you just open up a graph, change your window accordingly, all right? And then when you go to Control G, well, it's not going to show it right now. Then when you go to Control G, hit the up arrow to go to function 1 and hit enter. That'll graph your quadratic regression equation. Then if you go to menu, graph edit entry, and hit scatter plot, it'll come up to here with X and Y. Type in time for X and it should go bold. Type in temp for Y and it should go bold. And then after you hit enter, it will graph your time and temperatures. Okay, so that is how you do quadratic regression on the TI Inspire. Now, those of you who have the calculator, I want you to try this one. Those of you who don't worry. We're going to do plenty of these in class tomorrow. So those of you who have the Inspire, go ahead and try this problem. And yeah, so I'm going to pause the video and try this problem. All right, so remember, we got to convert this to military time. So this is 15, this is 18, and this is 21. All right, so now let's go back to the Inspire. Let's close all this out so I can get me a new one. You go to spreadsheet. Let's go up here, name this time. Remember, you have to do this first. If you tried to do it after you typed in all your values, it's not going to work. So now type in all your temperatures. And then come over here to the temperature. Type in all your times, then come over and type in all your temperatures. All right, so I got all my times, got all my temps. So let's do our quadratic regression. So menu, statistics, stat calculations, quadratic regression, A, B, save it to F1, come down here, and let's make this D. Hit enter, boom, here we go. All right, so if you look, this one's even closer to 1, because if you remember last time, this was 9915, now we're in 0.9959. So we're a little closer to 1 now. So that means this one's going to be even more accurate than our last one. All right, so now the next thing we do, go home, pick a graph. Now, see here we have F2, hit the up arrow, there's F1. That is our quadratic regression that we just did. You can hit enter, it'll graph it. Now, if you notice, this goes back to almost -2, so I'm going to include that when I adjust my window. So menu, Windows Zoom, Windows Settings, X values, let's go -2. And our highest X value we typed in was 21, so let's go to 25. For the Y's, let's go 0. The highest Y value we typed in was 89, so let's go 95. So there we go, we got a nice view of it. Now to graph our points that we put in as a scatter plot, remember we go to Menu, Graph Edit Entry, Scatter Plot. X, remember we called time, Y we called temp, and yes, they should go bold on your calculator as well. Type that in, hit enter, and now you can see that this is a great representation of those 6 points. Okay, so that is how you do quadratic regression on the TI Nspire. Make sure you took good notes. All right, to review, you open a new spreadsheet, label A time or whatever your X value is, label B temp or whatever your Y values are. Now, if you do it in time, you need to convert everything to military. Whoops, I don't know what I'm doing there. You need to convert everything to military time if you're doing time, and then you type in all your temperatures, and then you go to menu, statistics, stat calculations, quadratic regression. Your X's are in A, your Y's should always be in B. Save it to F1 and make your first column D. Hit OK. It'll all pop up here. If you want to, and check R squared because that'll tell you how accurate your estimations are going to be by using that quadratic function that you just came up with. Now to graph everything, you just simply go home, open up a new graph. When it comes in, it'll say F2 at the top. Hit up to go to F1. That's where your quadratic regression equation will be. Hit enter. It'll throw up your quadratic regression equation. Adjust your window accordingly like I did. And then go to menu, graph edit entry, hit scatter plot. Whoops, let's get rid of that because that'll pop up this. Type in time for your X's or whatever you labeled your X's in this case, and it should go bold. Type in temp for your Y's or whatever you named your Y's, and it should go bold. Now, should you forget what you called them, you can always hit the var key, VAR. When you hit the var key, it'll pop up every variable. So here you can see time and temp right here, and they're in alphabetical order. So if you ever forget what you called it, hit that var key and then just simply find it in the list, okay? After you type them both in, hit enter, and it'll graph it, all right? So this has been your quadratic functions and equations part 2. We went over quadratic regression. Feel free to watch this video as many times as you need to. Make sure you come to class tomorrow ready to work some problems. See you tomorrow.